Again, college is often talked about as an educational or emotional decision. Is this the right school for my major? What are the dorms like? What did it feel like to walk across campus? And do I feel like I belong? But for families, it's also one of the biggest financial decisions they'll ever make. And yet, many students arrive on campus without fully understanding the cost, the sacrifices, or the long term impact tied to the experience. And so, what changes when students are part of that conversation? Does it shape the way they approach school, the community, internships, work, or even their future career goals? Today, we're talking with graduating college senior Isabelle Adams about the student perspective on financial awareness, campus involvement, and what it looks like to truly begin with the end in mind. Welcome to Paladin Financial Talk. I'm your host, Nikki Foley, and I'm joined by featured guest Isabelle Adams, a very recent graduate of Creighton University in Omaha, Nebraska. Welcome, Isabelle.
Thank you so much for having me.
Well, it's fantastic to have you. I'm going to do just a little bit of an introduction because you are our first guest on our new series that we are kicking off about family and education. And so this series really is exploring how families navigate education, financial decisions, leadership, development, and preparing a student for life beyond the classroom, beyond the educational experience. And so through our conversation with you today, as well as other upcoming guests that include educators, parents, tax professionals, the series is going to examine how money, identity, opportunity, and life skills really interact with each other for college and then life beyond that. So, Isabelle, I'm so glad that you're joining us for the first part or the first guest in our series. And so you're a recent graduate from Creighton University in Omaha. So first of all, a big congratulations to you. I bet it feels
Thank you so much. Yes, it does. It's very exciting and also nerve-wracking to be done in a new chapter of your life. So,
well, tell us a little bit about who you are and then tell us about this new chapter that you're ready to embark on.
yeah, so my name is Isabelle Adams. Obviously, you already introduced me. I'm a senior graduating from Creighton University with a marketing and graphic design major. I studied in the Heider College of Business there. I'm originally from Minnesota, Stillwater. So I was about 5.5 hours away from home. I graduated in 3 years, so I graduated in a year early. And I always wanted to work in marketing. My mom works in marketing. It's something that's super engaging and super intriguing to me. I got super involved with the athletic department on campus my freshman year and immediately was like, I love this. So I wanted to pursue a career in sports. And I just accepted my first full-time offer to work for Love Nebraska, which is a professional volleyball team in Nebraska, starting in June. So I'm super excited.
That has to feel good that you are both following your major in a sector that has always been of interest to you, and that you have it done and you're ready to go as soon as you graduate here. So
yes, I feel lucky in that aspect. So very excited.
Well, I'm going to take some of the things that you talked about today and weave them into the questions. And so the format that we'll use is I'm going to ask you questions and we'll let you respond. And if there's something that you have said and I think we want to expand on it, I'll just ask a few more questions if that sounds good.
Perfect.
All right, so let's go ahead and start by rewinding to when you were applying and preparing to attend college. How much did you understand about the financial commitment you were about ready to make?
Yeah, I think it's in the background of what you're thinking about when you're trying to decide where you go to college. As a high school student, it was never like money was not something that was at the top of my mind. I wasn't someone that was like big saver in high school or by any means. So it was new to me. I knew the basics of what paying for college would be like. I understood that I was going to have to take out loans to pay for college, but I had no idea what that meant or what that looked like. So when I think back about my decisions, I think there was both sides of it. When I was looking at schools, I definitely looked at the big number that it said that it costed each semester to go to the schools I was looking at, but I didn't really understand it. I was more focused at the time on where I thought I was going to fit in, what my major was going to be, what type of people I wanted to be around, what city I wanted to be in. And then my parents were definitely a good balance in the sense of my dad was like, okay, but you should think about the money side of it. And my mom was like, let's find you a place that you're going to love. So I feel like I had both sides and definitely thought about both things going in, but the finances obviously was not in the forefront of my mind when making my decision. So
So, one of the things you said in your introduction is that you were able to do it in 3 years. Tell me about that. At the time, it probably wasn't a financial decision, but now probably looking back, you recognize it was. Tell me a
Yeah.
little bit about how you accomplished that.
So I took some PSEO credits in high school, and that was more just because I was a high achiever in high school. The people that were high achieving took PSEO courses. I didn't really understand that that was actually saving me money in college at the time. So I took those. So I came into school with a lot of credits, and once I got there, they lay it all out for you. They show you like these are the classes you're going to need to take each semester, laid it all out for me. And basically, looking at it my first semester, I was like, well, I don't need 8 semesters to finish what I need to finish. Um, so I always had that in the background of my mind. I would say at the end of my freshman year, I kind of saw those first year costs and what it costed to go to college and had a better understanding. It was like, okay, maybe I don't need to go to 4 years of college if that's not necessary for my education. So I decided to take winter and summer classes instead. Those also cost money, but overall the weight of a whole nother semester or a whole nother year versus those smaller courses over the summer and winter was something that I was happier with those summer and winter courses. So I did decide to graduate a year early with those credits and with the financial aspect in mind after my freshman year, just kind of seeing and feeling that it was like maybe not necessary to sign a lease on a house and pay rent for a whole nother year if I didn't need to, and pay for a meal plan and pay for a 12 credit semester instead of really maximizing my 3 years instead.
And when did you have that aha moment? It sounds like maybe it came after you had already entered into college and towards the end of it, you had a year under you. Is that probably the accurate time for you?
Definitely. Yeah. I think it was probably that like the end of my first year. I kind of had help paying for my first semester of college. So my second semester was like where I was really like taking out the loans and seeing like what that would be like and how to make my first payment. And I was like, okay, so this isn't going to be cheap. So yeah, I think I would say it was at the end of my first year that I kind of had that aha moment of maybe I should think about the finance side of things and how I could save myself money in terms of not going to school for another year.
So, kind of summarizing what I've heard you say, and I want to ask you some questions. What would you say your parents did well in involving you on the conversations about cost and budgeting? But where would you wish that maybe they would have come in and shared more with you?
Yeah, I think that I'm the oldest child, so I definitely think my parents were navigating the whole thing just as much as I was. I definitely wish I would have known a little bit sooner what paying for college would look like and how it would look, but my parents were super open and honest with me about what they were going to help me pay for and what I was going to be paying for. So, my parents have paid for all of my things I needed outside of my tuition. So I am in charge of my tuition and my room and board, and my parents have helped me with food, gas, things like that. And I knew that up front, which was super helpful to know that they would be supporting me in that aspect financially. And obviously, it's great to get any help from your parents. So, like I said kind of before, my dad was very like, what is the school going to give you that you're choosing in terms of scholarships? How can you build on those scholarships and get more money off? He's a finance guy, so that's like his whole mindset. But you also want to balance that with my mom, who was more like, are you going to like the people there? Are you going to like the city you're living in? But there's so many sides of it that you don't even see. Like the city, Omaha is not the most expensive city to live in, which my dad pointed out many times going into college. Whereas another one of my options was to live in Madison, which was obviously a more expensive city to live in. So those are all things you have to think about. And me in the middle of it, I feel like could have had a better understanding of all those costs that you just don't see. But I do feel like my parents did a good job at trying. And I think that as my brother, he's now a freshman in college this year, I feel like they've learned even more how that looks and what things you need to know before going into paying for those semesters and going semester by semester. And how are you going to pay for this small chunk and this small chunk and things like that. So, yeah.
Have you found that the answer to that has been partially through loans, partially through working? Or tell me about how all the pieces have ultimately come together now as you look back over the last 3 years.
Yeah, there is, I mean, I will just say, like, universities give you all the resources. Like, it doesn't matter where you go to school, there are so many opportunities to find ways to pay for your school. So, one way that probably helped me the most is I'm a federal work study student, so it's something you apply through the FAFSA, you get approved to be a federal work study student. So, I've had 3 work study jobs this year. So, the school helps me essentially pay for my tuition through those work study jobs, which is one way that I found to get my tuition down. Another way is other scholarships that you can get on campus. There's tons of groups and organizations and clubs within every university that you can get involved with to help find scholarship opportunities. And then on top of that, I've had other jobs as well, which are all things I didn't necessarily know I was going to need at the beginning or didn't know really existed. Um, but you learn it over time. And I'll say, like, my tuition has went down every semester that I've went to Creighton. So like my first semester was the most expensive and my last semester was the least expensive. So it builds up over time. And if you apply yourself and put yourself in the right situations, you can definitely get your tuition down.
So that really takes me right into the next question is, do you think there is a link between your financial awareness and decisions around involvement on campus, such as sorority or athletics or clubs, associations, internships, work, all of that? Do you feel like there's some interweaving of that? And that's a pretty broad question. So you can go where you want to with it, but it seems like it became really valuable that you got involved with things and you probably took it more from your mom's perspective
Yeah.
of I need to be involved and I need to meet people. And it ended up maybe benefiting you more from your dad's perspective. It became a financial positive for you. So walk me through some of this.
Yeah, I now being a senior, it's obviously easy to look back on it and be like, I'm so happy I did all of that in the moment. But I would just say that the return on investment of being a college student is so much bigger than your tuition costs. There's so much you learn and so many opportunities inside of the college environment that you can get that's more than just the number that you're paying for your tuition. And you have to take advantage of those things. It doesn't necessarily just fall in your lap unless you seek it out, which is what I feel like I did. Like I said, I got involved my first semester with a sorority and in my athletic department. And those are all things I was just interested in. So I would just say, anyone, like whatever you're interested in, your university has something for you that can take you down a route that will help you financially, that will help you get involved. Like you said, like at the beginning, I was just like, I think working in sports is interesting. I'm going to see if there's any opportunities that in the athletic department. And they ended up giving me a scholarship. I ended up being able to work study through them. So immersing yourself in the experience is so important, and understanding that the number that you're paying is not just for the classes that you're going to, but the whole experience, the people you meet, the people you meet professionally, the friends you meet. There's so much more to the tuition cost than just the classes that you'll go to. So I would definitely say there's a link between everything, and everything is woven in terms of how you can make your college experience like maximize it.
You did a fantastic job describing how those all interweave together. So it actually ties right into the where we were going next with this. And so what about that experience would you say is taking you into or goes with you into your professional career? What are some of those lessons, both either financially or being involved and using a community around you as you go into professional life?
Yeah, especially being in business. I mean, everything's about networking, and my school did a really, really great job at emphasizing the networking and how important that is. But the job market's not easy these days, and feeling like I was able to get a job right out of college. I mean, that's it for me, and in itself, like the tuition that I had to pay and the student loans I'll have to pay back, it's worth it because I have a job right out of college, and that's all through the networking that I did throughout my undergrad. And I was getting involved with so many different things. I was in a student run marketing agency on campus. I was in a sorority where I served as the VP of marketing for it. And then, like I said, I worked as a lead marketing intern for the athletic department as well. And those are just 3 examples of ways that I was able to meet people and, like I said, increase the return on investment of my college tuition. And like I said, I just feel blessed to have a university that set me up now to have a career post grad, because if you don't apply yourself, it's hard to your degree is not necessarily going to get you that anymore. Like just your degree is not necessarily going to get you a job out of college anymore, like it may used to have. So yeah, those opportunities are really what can help you succeed post grad.
So, what I believe I've heard you say also is that you are now choosing to stay in Omaha or in Nebraska at least, and you're going to have full-time job work as soon as you graduate. So that's also a financial decision when you may not realize it, but you're choosing to, have the
Mhm.
expense of living and starting a career now. Tell
Yeah,
me, is
so
that intimidating
I
or are
will
you
say my original plan was I was moving home. I was moving back in with my parents, and that was all financially driven. I didn't wanna pay for rent. I was like, "I'm gonna get a job at home." Um, but the industry that I've decided to work in, that I wanna work in, is sports, and like I said, I made so many connections in Omaha that it was kind of a shot in the dark trying to find a job here just because my network wasn't here. And wait, obviously I found a job in Omaha and it kind of fell in my lap, honestly, in a good way. Like I feel like I said, I made the correct connections in my undergrad to help me find that job. I will be moving home at some point. Minnesota is where I want to end up, but um, very happy with staying in Nebraska because it has helped me break into an industry that's kind of hard to get into. So
And so do you feel like as you look at the expenses that you have and the income you have coming in, do you feel like you'll be able to manage that, and is that intimidating to you?
it's definitely intimidating. My dad just told me the other day, he's like, "Let's make you a budget. Let's figure out like what your salary every month that you're gonna get. Where's that money gonna go?" So like I said, my parents have been super supportive and super helpful in that aspect. I'm staying in my college house, which is also helping. Like I said, I graduated a year early, so all my friends are still in college, and paying for a college house versus paying for like a nice apartment is definitely different. So paying that lower rent is also something that is helping me feel like at ease with staying in Nebraska and having those living costs. And as I mentioned at the beginning, Omaha is a great city for someone that's young to live in because nothing's outrageously expensive. So like I said, I wanted to move home, but it's hard to turn down a job at all these days, and especially a job in the industry you want to work in. So
Absolutely, and do you think a student or somebody like yourself approach and maybe even appreciate college differently now that you have an understanding of cost?
oh, totally. I mean, I when I started college, I was like, I'm not gonna like this. I have to live in a 4x4 with someone I don't know and go to school every day. And now, like I said, I mean, I would not take back the past 3 years, anything that I did in it for anything. I studied abroad for a semester, which was absolutely incredible. That's something that was a financial decision as well. I mean, it wasn't cheap, but it was something that I can say was another like thing I got out of the last 3 years. So looking back on it, I'm so happy of how involved I got early on and how much those involvements kind of helped me now and who I know now and where I am going from here. So yeah, I it gives you a whole new world. I try and tell my brother now, like, what do you want to get involved in on campus? Like you should find someone that like you look up to or find a mentor on campus that you can talk to because those are the types of things that you just can't get when you're not in that environment. It's such a bubble. It's such a bubble that is full of everybody throwing 45 opportunities at your face and you kind of have to decide which ones you want to take. And it's hard to figure out which ones, especially if you don't know exactly what you want to do. It's hard to figure out which ones are kind of worth your time and which ones are going to help you in the long run. But I would say, especially when you're a freshman or a sophomore, try everything and then once you're a junior and a senior, you can kind of decide like what's going to help me truthfully the most.
You have done a fantastic job of sharing the financial perspective and the involvement perspective and how those 2 things marry together. One last question I have for you before we begin to wrap up is, if you could give one piece of advice to parents preparing kids for college, what would it be?
I mean, I think it just emulates what I've kind of been saying this whole time. There is so much more to college than that tuition cost and the classes that you're going to go to. And talking to your student about how they can get involved outside of just going to class every day, I think is so important. nothing I would have wanted more than to like have someone be like, there's so much that you can do in college and so many opportunities and so many doors it's going to open up. So when talking to your student about going and looking at that number that looks scary, like I was looking at, I wish I would have seen it as there's so much more to that number, and utilize all that you can inside of that, because you're not going to be able to have that when you graduate. I mean, truthfully, like I just was talking to someone the other day, like you have a gym, you have food, you can't find it any better. So yeah, I would say as a parent, just know that your student is investing in great friendships, great opportunities, great experiences, and keep them informed about like there's things that are going to come up about that you're not going to expect to pay for, balancing like my friends want to go out to eat every night and I should probably use my meal plan that I just paid for. Being financially smart about that stuff is something that's important, but also just seeing how much those 3 or 4 years can shape you as a person, I think is so important.
So what I heard you say as I kind of summarize our conversation is the recurring theme has been it's college tuition is obviously going to the education piece, but you're investing so much more in being a well-rounded human being and how much growth that takes place in those 2 to 3 or 4 years that
Yeah,
you are in the college experience that's invaluable. And so there's a financial lens to all of it, but just making sure you're looking so much bigger than just the educational piece of it. Would you say that's
exactly.
a fair
That
summary?
is definitely fair. And the part about you saying there's parts that are invaluable, that's definitely also true. Like the people that you meet in college, the experience of like living by yourself, all of that is like things that you need to grow up. And being put in that environment is only something that comes from going to college, which, like you said, there's so much more than just that education cost.
Well, as you look back and you've been through your different experiences over the last 3 years, do you have any, and I'm putting you on the spot, so if your answer is no, I can't think of anything, that's okay too. But do you have any recommended resources for either students or parents that might help them as they embark on deciding on college and maybe throughout college?
Yeah, I think that every school is obviously different in terms of what resources they provide, but I can almost guarantee that every school will have some sort of career center that you can reach out to, and I would do that as soon as possible. Figuring out, even just talking to a career advisor on what if you don't know what you want to do, talking to them about like your strengths. Like I sat down with a career advisor and talked to them about what they thought I could be good at. I told them what I was good at, and they pointed out some jobs that they think would help me. That's another resource that's just so valuable that I'm not going in there and paying for the career advisor to talk to me, but my tuition cost is doing that for me. And there's so many things like that. Getting involved with the sorority was so helpful. I got to be the VP of marketing, which sounds really important, but really I'm uh, running a sorority, which is fun. So get involved with a sorority, get involved with things that you love, and it will take you so far.
You know, if I think about some of the things that you described, and I don't know that you meant to even go here, but as you're describing some of the things like your career center or your workout or your meal plan, those are all line items in people's budgets, and it's
Mhm.
the kind of the cash flow conversation of what's coming in and what's going out. They're all built into that tuition, and so you're not paying a separate dollars and cents to go to the gym. There's one right there on
Exactly.
campus, and so what a good perspective as from a parent, as you look down your list of items that, we have on our outgoing on a monthly basis. Well, how many of those are being taken care of by that tuition,
Exactly,
that's
yeah,
built in? Yeah, what a great perspective to have between parents and children as they're preparing.
for
Well,
sure, and use those student discounts. I'd say just about every place you can get a student discount too. That's one thing I'll be missing too, graduating, so take advantage of those as well.
Well, you have been absolutely fantastic in sharing your perspective. I have just a couple things as I'm going to wrap up. One of the things that we like to do is offer all of our listeners a download or a resource when they listen to our show. And this time it is, what issues do I need to consider as my child becomes independent? It's a checklist that we have available. And one of the examples of the items that's on it is, in case of an emergency, do you wish to have access to your child's important records, such as health records, academic, financial, after they turn 18? And that's a conversation that takes place between parent and child and what the child is comfortable with. But one that comes into play that often isn't thought about is, if something happens to you, Isabel, and you are in a health situation, your parents don't automatically have access to your records and to be able to make decisions on your behalf now that you're 18 and beyond. And so those are the type of things and resources that we want to make available to families so that they can start thinking of, gosh, what happens now that I have somebody that is out of my house that's an actual adult, and how much do you want them involved, and how much do they want to be involved from a parent's perspective? And so that's something that we have as a free download to go along with our conversation today, and that's available on our website at paladinfinancial.com, and also on our radio website at paladinfinancialtalk.com. So in closing, is there anything that you would like to wrap up with, Isabel, before we say our closing?
I think the only thing that I would give to everyone listening is just, you know, going to college these days isn't necessarily as like expected as usual. People explore different routes. But if you do decide to go to college, there is a world of opportunities in it. And I feel like my degree is invaluable, like I mentioned. So as you hear all that talk about, do you need to go to college or do you not? I can say I definitely feel like it was worth it. So yeah, that would be my my closing statement.
Yeah, it definitely, you've done a great job of explaining it's not just about the education you received, but the life experiences along the way and the financial information that you learned along the way as well. Well, for all of our listeners, if anybody has been listening and said, oh my gosh, this sounds like me, or a conversation that I need to have with my child or grandchild, and you want to do a second opinion with our team, give us a call. We'll offer you a 15-minute, no obligation conversation to help get some clarity. And the Paladin Financial team can be reached by visiting our website at paladinfinancial.com. And then there's a booking link at our top corner. You can book a 15-minute conversation with any of our advisors, or you can also pick up the phone and call 651-842-8406. Follow us on social media for more insights and resources like the ones that we are offering today with Isabel with us. You can see us on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. So we want to make sure that as many people are getting the information in their hands. So again, take advantage of the download titled, What Issues Do I Need to Consider as My Child Becomes Independent? That's available for download at paladinfinancialtalk.com. Thanks again for listening. Isabel, thanks for being a part of our conversation today. We certainly appreciate you. And we'll see everybody on the next episode.